You don't have to be some conspiracy nut to recognize what's happening across this country. All it really takes is keeping your eyes open. Flip on the evening news, scroll through the headlines, or take a short walk downtown after the sun sets. You'll see it plain as day. Being safe in America right now isn't just about locking up your house or avoiding sketchy neighborhoods. The danger cuts deeper than that. In today's world, one of the smartest decisions you can make for yourself and the people you love is carrying a firearm, period. I've been saying this for a long time. For me, it's not about politics or scoring points in some debate, it's about reality. Anytime you step out the door, whether it's for gas, groceries, or just a quiet hike in the woods, you ought to be armed. Personally, I don't think anyone should leave home without their sidearm, but bare minimum, there are 5 situations in this country where you should never set foot without a gun. These aren't just higher risk places, they're powder kegs, where one wrong move by the wrong person can turn an ordinary afternoon into a fight for survival. Let's kick things off with the obvious, America's biggest cities. Doesn't matter which one you pick, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, take your pick, they're all wrestling with the same plague, crime. And I'm not talking about some shoplifter sneaking out with a candy bar. I'm talking about organized smash and grabs in broad daylight, armed carjackings, assaults at bus stops, and commuters getting blindsided on their way home. We've all seen the stories. Somebody heading home from work ends up in the hospital or worse. Folks are being jumped at intersections, held up at cash machines, even shot in traffic disputes. These aren't rare flukes, they're part of a bigger trend nobody in power wants to admit. Because admitting it means confessing that our cities have become dangerous. Sure, some places brag that their homicide numbers dropped a few points last year. But let's be honest, that doesn't mean life got safer. It just means the violence changed shape. Maybe there are fewer murders, but now more robberies. Maybe fewer shootings, but more beatings. Either way, you don't feel safer when you're out at 8 o'clock at night with your kids and suddenly find yourself crossing the street because a group of strangers is walking your way. And here's the kicker, the very cities drowning in crime are usually the same ones making it nearly impossible for good people to legally defend themselves. In California, you've got a mountain of red tape. In New York, they've declared half the state a sensitive location. That leaves you with 2 lousy choices: break the law or trust the police to show up in time. And lately, we all know how that story ends. Departments are short-staffed, worn out, and often chained by politics. They can't cover every corner, and even when they do, they're usually too late. So here's the hard truth. In places like this, the real danger isn't just the criminals, it's the laws tying the hands of law-abiding citizens. A thug looking to rob you doesn't care about carry permits or gun-free zones, but you, the honest American, are the one stuck being disarmed. That's the upside-down world we're living in. The second spot on the list, where you should never show up without a firearm, is the gas station. On the surface, it feels harmless enough. You pull up, slide your card, maybe run inside for a cold drink, and you're gone in a few minutes. But that's exactly the problem. Every single stop at the pump follows the same script. Criminals thrive on routine, and gas stations are as routine as it gets. They know you're distracted watching the fuel gauge, scrolling through your phone, or dealing with a cranky kid in the back seat. They also know you've got cash or cards on you and a running vehicle sitting right there. Late hours make it even worse. Once the clock passes 10 at night, a gas station becomes one of the riskiest spots you can be. Poor lighting, no crowds around, and usually just a single clerk behind the counter. That's a recipe for ambush. I've seen the security footage myself. Someone pulls up, steps out to fuel their car, and before they've even unbuckled, 2 attackers rush in, one flashing a pistol, the other snatching the keys. It's over in seconds. That's not paranoia, that's reality. And in those seconds, the only thing that matters is whether you're able to fight back. By the time you realize how exposed you are, it's already too late to call 911. You're the target, and the attack is already happening. That's when you'll wish you had a sidearm within reach. And it isn't just gas stations. Any public space where folks get comfortable and stop paying attention is a soft target waiting to be hit. Movie theaters, music venues, sporting events, local fairs, big crowds, few exits, and nobody expecting violence until it explodes. That's exactly why attackers pick them. There's no warning, no real pattern. One week it's someone lashing out over a personal grudge. The next, it's a wannabe making a statement. Either way, the end result is the same. Chaos, screaming, panic. People pile toward the exits, duck behind seats, or drop to the ground just praying to survive. Most people freeze in those moments, but the handful of men and women who carry are the ones who can push back, who can draw a hard line between panic and order. A theater is dark, a concert is loud, and your attention is locked on the show. That's exactly why those places are vulnerable. You can't see trouble coming, and once it starts, there's almost nowhere to go. I will never walk into a public venue without carrying, not because I'm looking for a fight, but because my family deserves a protector who won't be caught flat-footed. And since we're talking about everyday places folks assume are safe, let's be real about stores, restaurants, and malls. We go to these spots every single day and treat them like nothing can happen. But if you've been paying attention to the news, you know better. Shopping centers and food courts have become some of the most common stages for mass attacks in recent years. I'm not talking about petty shoplifting. I mean armed killers walking in and opening fire. Customers dive behind displays. Parents shove their kids under tables. Employees barricade themselves in stock rooms. This isn't rare anymore. It's the world we live in now. Whether it's ideology, a personal grudge, or just someone unhinged, it doesn't matter when you're caught in the middle of it. The result is always the same. Chaos, fear, people scrambling, and the desperate hope that someone nearby can stop it. I've read accounts where victims didn't even know what was happening until it was already too late. They thought it was fireworks or a speaker popping. That's how fast and disorienting these attacks are. You don't get 5 minutes of warning, you get seconds. And in those seconds, whether or not you're carrying could mean the difference between walking out or never getting up again. And don't think it only happens in big cities. Even restaurants, places where families sit down for a meal, have become targets. 1 second, you're reaching for the salt. The next, you're watching strangers dive under tables. That's the reality now. No public space is too ordinary to be dangerous. If you're eating out, shopping, or taking your kids to the mall, you need to accept that risk exists and be ready for it. But the threat doesn't end when you leave the streets and step into the wilderness. In fact, the risks out there can be even more deceptive. The woods may feel like the safest place in America. No crowds, no sirens, just the sound of wind in the trees. But isolation doesn't mean safety. It means if something happens, help could be hours or even days away. Sure, there are wild animals, bears, mountain lions, even feral dogs in some regions. But what I worry about most are people. Remote areas have become hiding places for drug operations, criminal activity, and individuals who don't want to be found. Out there, there are no streetlights, no neighbors, no one to hear you yell. If someone with bad intentions approaches you in the middle of nowhere, you don't have time to dial 911, and chances are you wouldn't even have a signal. The only backup you've got is what's on your hip and how prepared you are to use it. A quiet hike with your spouse, a solo fishing trip, an off-grid camping weekend, these are incredible, grounding experiences. But the wrong encounter can turn them in an instant. In that moment, being armed isn't just a precaution, it's survival. Carrying isn't just about reacting to danger. It's a mindset. It's choosing to move through the world with clarity, not fear, not paranoia, just readiness. Because in a country where threats can appear anywhere, being prepared isn't extreme, it's responsible. So carry legally, carry responsibly, know your state and local laws. Preparation includes discipline, and wherever you are, city streets, store aisles, crowded concerts, or quiet trails, walk with purpose, carry with purpose, and most of all, live with purpose. Thanks for being here today. Stay sharp, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.